kind of related to the whole Paul Pelosi mainstream media is totally fucking lying to you. It was recently revealed by a Senate report that it is extremely likely that COVID came from a lab in Wuhan. Not
Wait,
that
I
it was
think
necessarily a leak, but it escaped there. It came from there. How? That's less clear, but that it
right,
did come
but
from there.
they didn't say. Did they actually use the phrase "extremely likely," or was it just like more likely than not, or something like that?
I think they used the number even. I think they said 95% likelihood.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Like here's the quote from the Vanity Fair article. It says concludes that the COVID-19 pandemic was quote more likely than not the result of a research-related incident.
hmm Well, in any case, it is a an authoritative body. This, basically the Senate or someone paid by a Senate committee is making this statement. No big deal. I mean, if you're not a moron, you have actually believed this for about 2 years. That just like John Stewart said, there's a building there that literally has the fucking name on the side of the building. And you'd think it has nothing to do with this virus. You think it was people eating bats or something? What's wrong with you? Just your ability to think critically is seriously in doubt. But what's more interesting about it, of course, is the internet never forgets. Although people have short memories and they do forget. I have not forgotten when people were banned, when people were silenced for expressing this opinion. They were called racist. They're like, "Are you saying the Chinese did this? Is this an anti-Chinese thing?" China was fully on board with that because they don't want to take responsibility, and so they played the race card. But they had a great helping hand in the United States as well from all these dumb fuck leftists who also said, "Hey, you must be a racist. You're peddling this conspiracy theory? Racist. What's with this misinformation? You shouldn't be allowed to speak. You should be banned from Twitter. You should be banned from Facebook. This kind of misinformation is damaging. It's dangerous." Well, it turns out that those people, the conspiracy theorists are right again. This is going to happen. This is going to happen a lot because it seems like the mainstream media is lying quite a lot. So the people who are
Yep.
quote unquote conspiracy theorists, more often than not, are just telling the truth about things. The dangerous part about this, and this is what we need to prevent. We can't let this happen. We can't let these fucktard leftists gaslight us and just act like, oh, well, we have new information. So this is just our opinion on the matter has just evolved along with the new data. No, that's not how it went. Okay, you banned people. You told people that this is the truth. Period. Stop talking. Otherwise, we'll ban you. That's what happened. It
Yep.
wasn't some even-handed discourse where you thought your thing. Okay, maybe you thought it didn't come from the lab. Maybe you thought it was bats. Fine, but you were open-minded enough to accept other points of view and constantly be accepting new data points, new evidence, and your opinion on the matter just evolved over time as more evidence came in. If that happened, I'd have no problem with it, of course. I don't insist that you agree with me on everything. Maybe you thought it was bats. Maybe you thought the lab had nothing to do with it. Okay, you have your belief. That's not the problem. The problem is the silencing part. They had the power to silence, so they just used it. And they turned out to be wrong. They got egg on their face. We cannot let them just pretend like the silencing part didn't happen. That this was just a natural evolution in our view of the facts. No, we need to bring up these situations where people were banned or censored.
This is so that's where I think I sent you some of these crazy replies on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this
Twitter,
this
always
guy,
remember.
yeah, this guy's he well, I guess he got ratioed, but still the fact that this tweet got 327 likes, I mean, that's I don't know, it's scary. He said, even if evidence shows this was the case, jumping to this conclusion before all the facts were in was still very wrong and should be acknowledged as such.
That's
327
so
likes.
that's so retarded because they also jumped to a conclusion that it wasn't from the lab. That is
Exactly.
also a conclusion. And your conclusion was backed by tech giants censoring our conclusion. We were all just making conclusions at the time, but somehow your conclusion is rubber stamped by the powers that be and the powers that be use their power to censor us. That's the big part of the story that they're just ignoring here, and that's we cannot let them ignore it. We can't let them forget it. It just makes you wonder how many other situations will arise. Well, plenty actually. Recently, they had to, they had to admit that the vaccine does not stop the spread of COVID, which is something that people have been saying for a long time and consistently being censored for saying that. You cannot let them forget what they did.
Yeah, and here's the another example of gaslighting. Somebody said, except no one got banned for saying this, and no one has been robbed of 2,500 by PayPal. And then the reply to that tweet has 161 likes, 77 replies, and then somebody replied to that with the news article, or Twitter famously suspended a Chinese virologist who said that it was made in the lab.
Correct.
So this person actually said, yeah, except no one got banned, and then somebody replies,
Just
here's an
factually,
example
yeah,
of somebody.
factually
He's just
untrue.
wrong. Yeah.
The facts are not with
Uh,
them.
It's just
And the other some people might say, okay, we were wrong. Why are you dwelling on it? Here's why I'm dwelling on it. This has implications for arguments about free speech. We are still fighting this dumb fight about whether or not free speech is even all that important or good. Okay? Here's a great example of why these principles of free speech matter.
yeah.
So this is not just, oh, I told you so, I'm dancing on your grave, I'm gloating that I was right, you were wrong, haha. No, this is evidence to support my position that free speech is super important. Because that's still a fight we're fighting. Elon buys Twitter, and there's people saying, he says he's a free speech champion, but is that dangerous? People are still writing dumb fuck articles like that. Is it dangerous? It's dangerous not to have free speech, and here is a bunch of evidence showing why that's the case. When you don't
Did you?
follow principles of free speech, you could just ban people because you don't like what they are saying. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, no shit, it was a lab leak. Or if not a lab leak, it got out of the lab somehow. It was there, and then it was outside. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you said that before, you were censored. Is it dangerous to is free speech dangerous? Sure, sometimes. It's more dangerous not to adhere to principles of free speech.
And it wasn't just censored. You were probably mocked too, right? Because wasn't there this Lancet article? Was that the COVID lab
Right, the
leak? I
Lancet
forget.
one? Yeah.
There was
Where
a letter.
it said there's no evidence that it came from a lab, and what's more, you're racist. That was a medical journal.
The Lancet letter. Yeah. Okay. That's an important artifact.
It is, because if you have a medical journal on board with censorship and suppressing truth, how's that not dangerous? We depend on scientific journals to seek out truth, to be objective, to be open-minded. If they are infected by this mind virus of wokeism or censorship or just this garbage that we've had to experience for almost a decade, maybe.
So okay,
We're going to get poor science, is what I'm saying.
there is a bit of a subtlety, I guess. So I'm reading this, and it says, "We stand together to strongly condemn conspiracy theories suggesting that COVID-19 does not have a natural origin." So yeah, there is a kind of a subtle. I think it's an important subtlety. Is it? Whether.
Yeah, essentially they're saying, oh, it wasn't created. Maybe it was
Right.
just studied at the lab. Possible.
Yeah.
But that doesn't
But
erase the
regardless,
fact that
yeah.
doesn't erase the fact that they grouped in everybody who talked about a lab as a
Exactly.
conspiracy
Yeah.
theorist. So it
Yeah.
doesn't change that fact. They're on board with team censorship. And team censorship clearly way overstepped their bounds in this instance.
Yeah.
So yeah, no shit. It was a lab leak or it came from a lab.